Hedera has been a top altcoin on this channel, and I think at this point you guys already know that, right? HBAR is extremely bullish. I've been talking about it for, weeks on end. And even today, as we do really kind of look at the price chart, just going off of CoinMarketCap, don't worry, I do have the trading view chart open as well. If we really look at just CoinMarketCap, HBAR has been on fire. We have been starting to break out of that downtrend, and now we already broke over those February highs, which is a very good start to us actually retesting 40 plus cents, which will have us on a path to retesting the 2021 all-time highs. This is where almost everyone out there gets completely shocked, because what comes next is price discovery, where the chart goes absolutely parabolic and it just takes those that were on the sidelines by storm, and all of a sudden you see the FOMO kick in. You see people jumping in, you see HBAR going higher, everyone's asking, why is HBAR going crazy like this? How high can it go? This, that, whatever. We see it every single cycle. But Hedera has so much potential. When I tell you guys, I do think that HBAR will hit at least $1 this cycle. I think that it happens within the next 5 months, by the end of this year. And it could happen a lot sooner. But let's actually first start off with the price chart, because again, in a recent video, I told you guys that we need to break over this 28, almost 29 cent level. Okay, and that's simply the March highs. It's like the end of February into March highs. But we need to get a 3-day candle close over these wicks. Right now, we're trading just above it, or at least around it at like about 27.5 cents. I'm really looking at the weekly candle close today. That's going to be very important for us. But overall, it looks as though this is the start of the next big impulsive move. Even when we look at CoinMarketCap, it's so simple to look at this and say HBAR's headed much higher, because we already broke out of that downtrend, right? We already cleared the May highs. We have a higher high in play here. The structure on HBAR is actually very bullish on the chart, which tells us, guess what? If we are holding HBAR, we're about to make a lot more money. Now, on top of this, let's actually focus on just how bullish Hedera actually is. Let's start off with this post that came up on my timeline today from Smoke Dog. We have confidential report highlights real world adoption of Hedera. Over the last couple years, we have been watching as Hedera just continues to make so much noise. Okay, I really do think that it kind of starts with Hyundai, right? Hyundai and Kia. So this is around sustainability. They use Hedera's scalable energy efficient network for their supplier CO2 emission monitoring system, which tracks carbon emissions across their supply chain. I believe that this got announced back in the summer of 2023. I might be wrong on that, but I believe that it was the summer of 2023 when we saw this announced. It was a huge announcement because, number one, this is two very large retail-based companies that almost everyone knows about, okay? And they are tapping in and utilizing Hedera, a company that, 90+% of the world has yet to even hear about. But on top of that, we got Karate Combat. And Karate Combat kind of goes over, it kind of gets overlooked at this point. But Karate Combat is massive because it's engaging with, fans that want to tap in to, watch combat sports and really interact with, the sport beyond just watching, two people fight. They want to tap into the loyalty program. They want to actually utilize karate tokens, and they can do that all through Hedera. And they're actually launching, I think it's Up. It's called just Up. It's a blockchain that, they're actually launching on Hedera. I have yet to actually see any updates from that, but I know that they were in the process of doing so. This is huge for channeling hundreds of millions of viewers of combat sports, even UFC, for an example. We already know that UFC is working within the blockchain space. This is just one of those big moves from, a sport that could be a great way to bridge thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions and even hundreds of millions of users to crypto. But then We also have these other three: Aberdeen, Equity Lab, and OneSpan. Aberdeen is real world and digital asset tokenization, announced initially in, I think, 2022, summer of 2022, because it was right around the same time that SushiSwap launched as well. Launched its first DLT-based investment by tokenizing part of its £15 billion Lux Sterling money market fund on the token is issued on Hedera as well. Now, we also have Equity Lab. AI governance. Equity Lab uses Hedera's consensus service for Climate GPT to ensure transparent, immutable tracking of climate data and model workflows. On top of that, OneSpan, data integrity. OneSpan's Trust Vault leverages the Hedera blockchain to secure the long-term integrity and authenticity of digital agreements, offering quantum safe protection and irrefutable origin dates. These are just 5 great, overall diverse, unique use cases that are live on Hedera today. And it just doesn't stop at this, right? We already know that Hedera just continues to make so much noise around the world. Like, for an example, in Australia. Big shout to Tokenizer, a great friend of mine. HBAR in Australia lately. Navati AUDC test with the Monetary Authority of Singapore. AUDD launches on Hedera. Project Acacia by the Reserve Bank of Australia. Australian Payments Plus test HashSpear as well. Looks like a big shift is gearing up down under. And yeah, Hedera is in Australia in a big way. They always have been, right? A lot of people overlook how big Hedera has been in the Australian market. Going back to 2021, they were originally building smart cities with Hedera actually in Australia. And today, we could see that Australia is still a huge market for Hedera. And they continue to make a ton of noise and a ton of moves as well in the Australian market. This, in my opinion, is only going to continue. And we need to focus on the Australian market for crypto and blockchain as well, because, like I said, they've been making a lot of moves, just not around even Hedera only, but also around a few other things as well. We've been paying attention to a lot of the moves, even with AUDC, as well as AUDD, because AUDD is working with even XDC and XRP as well. So the Australian market is prime for, blockchain and DLT adoption. But also on top of that, we do see Hedera working with some very big players within the public policy side of things. For an example, all the eyes have been on the US lately during Crypto Week. The UK's HM Treasury also released its wholesale financial markets digital strategy. And of course, Hedera's global policy director was there breaking it down in their latest piece. And if you guys really wanted to go and check this out, you guys are more than welcome to. This is a full post regarding what's actually happening in the UK. The main thing that we're actually looking at here is just the fact that the US is starting to accelerate moves being made by all of these other nations around blockchain and DLT. We also know that Hedera has, been a pretty large player around the UK market as well with Archix and Aberdeen, but also a few other things as well that they've been really kind of, working on. But yeah, we know that the UK has been really kind of getting behind crypto since, I want to say, back in 2021. They really wanted to become a crypto hub. So this makes a lot of sense. And of course, Hedera, speaking on this, having that public policy engagement as well goes a long way. Now, on top of this, let's go over here to Genius. Do you know what's Genius? Building with Hedera Stablecoin Studio, trusted by Shinhan Bank and even SB Group, which, if you guys don't know, this is, Standard Bank Group. Yeah, we already know about the Genius Act, right? It got passed through. This is the stablecoin legislation bill within the US. It enables pretty much everything around stablecoins to be tapped in. And this is actually going to open up the door for more stablecoin initiatives and more stablecoin adoption. And of course, yes, Hedera was ahead of the game. They launched the Stablecoin Studio, I want to say it was back in September of this year. And through that, they already announced a few big moves happening with the Stablecoin Studio. We'll go over that here in a moment, but we really kind of look at this as the all-in-one solution for anyone that really wants to tap into stablecoins. It's all fully regulated. They have KYC and AML services already tapped in, and there's some pretty big names already utilizing the Stablecoin Studio today. Now, I really want to see a little bit more engagement with this because all of these great tools are already here within the Hedera ecosystem, but we haven't really witnessed a lot of adoption just yet. We know for a fact that the Philippine banks were collaborating to launch PHPX stablecoin on Hedera through the Stablecoin Studio. This got announced back in January of this year. The date that we were really kind of looking at this fully launching was sometime between May and July, or at least this is when the token was scheduled to launch. The use case itself was probably going to be a little bit after, but we have yet to see this launch. We're obviously nearing the end of July. So the question is, when are we going to see this? And was there any update from this? We actually really haven't heard much regarding this, but this was with some very large banks. And this is also something that I'm waiting on seeing an update from because, like I said, with the Stablecoin Studio, we haven't really witnessed a ton of adoption. Yes, we still have Standard Bank and Shinhan Bank. We haven't really heard much about that. But this is definitely a big piece of the puzzle for Hedera, and it's at a time where, we are seeing stablecoin legislation, so this could actually unlock and open up the doors of opportunity for Hedera to see that swarm in on stablecoins launching on Hedera. Now, also, like I said, AUDD is definitely one to focus on because that's launched on Hedera. Now, I don't know if this is, this is actually with the Hedera Stablecoin Studio through the Hedera token service. So this is one of those big announcements. I would love to see an update on the PHPX token because, these two are just great initiatives around the studio. And it really kind of gives us an insight on how bullish and how big of a piece of the Hedera ecosystem the Stablecoin Studio actually is. And don't forget that this is not the only studio that they actually have. They also have a few other pieces to Hedera, like the AI Studio, the Asset Tokenization Studio, and even the Hedera Guardian, which also has been witnessing a ton of adoption as of recent. And then, of course, last but not least, USDC on Hedera. USDC continues to go live on exchanges. And when I say USDC, I mean USDC on Hedera. It continues to go live on exchanges like Gate.io, which has access to 30 million plus users globally. And we've been tracking how much USDC is on Hedera. We actually have over here from CoinMan the HBAR. This was 4 days ago, right? And I want to bring this up because I want to use a little bit of an elapsed time post because this was 4 days ago. There was 165.1 million on Hedera, and this was actually up in a big way, 312% on the month, 26% on the week, almost 3% on the daily, 2.5% on the hourly. Today, we're actually at 192.7 million. Okay, up 300 and almost 70% in the last month, up almost 30% in the last week. Again, stablecoins on Hedera, specifically USDC, is going pretty crazy. Now, of course, this is all in part with DeFi. And if we think about the value of stablecoins by market cap, we're nearing those all-time highs going back to May, which was at $215 million. So the question is, what's happening with stablecoins on Hedera? Are we just starting to see, increased overall DeFi adoption? Definitely could be, considering the fact that in the last 7 days, Stater and also even SushiSwap are up plus double digits. Bonzo Finance up 32% as well. We love to see that. And also, by the way, TVL itself, if we actually look at the TVL for DeFi, this is starting to have that nice surge to the upside, almost coming back to its all-time highs as well. So, stablecoins, DeFi, all of these great things are happening on Hedera, which leads me back to the price chart, right? If we get to see HBAR really break out here, HBAR could move violently, just like XRP did recently. Once it broke over those previous highs, it just surged in a huge way. In fact, it surged to new all-time highs. A lot of people said new all-time highs. If you really look at $3.84 being the threshold for an all-time high, we didn't yet break over all-time highs. But from the break of the previous highs and even going all the way back to, December into January, XRP continued to go crazy because the high during that time was like $3.40. We hit like $3.60 some cents, which was great to see. So I would love to see a nice little move here on HBAR above these January highs at about 40 cents. And from that point, it's about 17 cents away from a new all-time high on HBAR. I think that that's definitely possible. And from that point on in price discovery, we can go crazy and shock a lot of people and hit $1 plus, which I would love to see. So we'll take this one step at a time, but so far HBAR has been on fire. I do think that price action is going to really kind of continue. We're 5 months out from the end of this year, almost 4 months. I think that by the end of this year, we're going to see a lot of these altcoins trading like 5 to 10 times higher than they are right now. In HBAR's case, I think that a 5x is definitely possible. We'll take it one step at a time, obviously, like I said, and I'll keep you guys posted during the videos, but I'm very excited for the future for HBAR and Hedera and to see how successful HBAR is this cycle. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out, guys.